Evening, Archie.
Good evening, sir.
How are you?
I'm good, and yourself?
Not too bad. Ready.
Cool.
I was waiting for a long time for this one. um, yeah. So hope a lot of people joining and to get the best out of it. Um, is it Alex joining as well, or I know he's basically
I don't think he's gonna join. He's 8 hours ahead of us here. There's 6 hours ahead, I think.
yeah. Yeah.
No, I think. I mean, he said it would be 3 a.m. for him, so I don't know if he's gonna make it in or not. Probably not.
It's okay anyway. This AMA is gonna be recorded, so it's no
Cool.
problem.
Nice. I can assure you, I will not be doing AMAs at 3 in the morning, so I
Oh
don't
no,
blame him for
100%,
sleeping.
100% not. How is family? Everyone good?
Everything's good. Yeah, rocking.
Nice, cool. So we're gonna wait a couple more minutes. So let's see if we get more people around. And I will start with a short presentation.
Okay.
And here we are. We're gonna go. Like for those listening, guys, there's in the pin messages. If you go a bit scroll down, you will find an agenda, and basically this is pretty much everything about the project. Things that has been done, that will be done, and what currently is worked on. So if you if you think that would be a great starting point for you to have questions, uh, yeah, we're gonna wait a couple more minutes. Hopefully, some more people gets along. Um, I've been going to these guys in Palace, and I've been part of Palace and still keep that DG, so I kind of put in the AMA there as well. If anyone is interested, they can join. Uh, yeah, as a good point for further shielding whenever the marketing starts. I think we should target all the rock nations in a way or another. I'll probably try to,
Mm.
they are like these TGs are mostly stay alive after the rock happens. I have no clue how Ranos deleted the TG. It's really weird. I don't know. Anyways, and it's good to get in touch with them and try to post, you know, chill a bit here there. Anyways, they won't really kick you out or something like that because they already done. So
Yeah, they're probably not looking in the first place.
yeah, well, okie dokie. Right. So well, I'll start with welcoming those that are on board already. Thank you for joining. This is Soto. Most of you guys know me from Uranus, and some from Palas. So here we are. We jumped from failure to failure till Kung Fu. Um, well, what else about me? Um, I'm from UK, and I will be your host in DG on both projects like Kung Fu and Fork It. Uh, so yeah, basically I'll be leading these two channels. Alex is another mode. He's mostly leading how it's called Discord, and we sometimes we switch and we go talk there, talk here, so we are everywhere. So this is pretty much. I'll give the word over to RG if you want to say something.
Sure. Um, so first off, yeah, thanks everyone for being here today. And just a quick little introduction of myself. There are, I think, two introductions kind of needed because people kind of know me from one of two places. And this will be also the point in time where I clear all that up and we merge it into one. So depending on how you know me, if you know me from Time Wizards NFTs, this was a project that I launched as the Wizard in January. And what we aimed to do, what the goal of that project was to, it was quite ambitious, but I felt we could do it until the entire Wonderland debacle, if you know that story or not. But what we set out to do was to raise a treasury-backed NFT on Phantom with 10,000 NFTs. And the idea was that 100% of that minting revenue was going to be staked into different yield farming opportunities. And we had an airdrop schedule planned out to reward holders with a $5,000 a day airdrop. And we had the tokenomics set up and the yield farming in place where we could actually sustain this inevitably. Because the mint itself would have raised about 1.5 million. That stake can pretty easily fund a $5,000 airdrop a day. With that said, about 2 weeks after we launched, the entire Wonderland ecosystem crashed. So that pretty much killed that project. But as a staple of how I roll it personally, and knowing that that goal was ambitious from the start, I made it very public that if for any reason we cannot reach this goal and we cannot fund these airdrops, we will refund you your money. And that is what we're doing. So May 1st is the cutoff date. And anyone who owns a Time Wizard has the choice of either returning that for a refund or receiving 2 of the Kung Fu NFTs when those launch, and in exchange for that, their original mint fee will be absorbed into Kung Fu. That's one way that people know me. The other is as RG, the marketing manager of Uranus. So I had actually bought into the token, held it for quite a while, saw that it was just trending down, didn't really like what was going on, and wanted to make my my wealth grow. And I also wanted to get more involved in a token project more than just an NFT project. So I reached out to the team and came on as the marketing manager, and I think we had pretty good results. I tried to be as professional and transparent as I could, start delivering marketing reports and so on. And after about a month of doing this, the remaining dev or devs, I have no idea who did it, decided to start stealing the treasury and the RFV. For full clarity, I don't know who did it. I didn't have access to any wallets, and the marketing budget that I got was sent to a wallet that I created from the one dev, which I can't even pronounce his name, but the one guy that was left remaining. So I am innocent of any wrongdoing there, but it really irks me when people do bad things with other people's money. So after Time Wizards honestly being ruined by the Wonderland demise and then the Uranus rug, I didn't want to join another project where I am using my skills and my abilities to potentially create another scenario where people can be taken advantage of. So what better way to avoid that than to start my own? And that is what I've went into. And through Uranus, I also got to know Soto. And through Time Wizards, I got to know Alex, who is our other mod. And bringing these guys together, so far there's the 3 of us. I have 2 external advisors as well who are not in control of any wallets. They're not devs. They're not building anything. They're simply just open ears that we can bounce ideas off of and get their opinions, and they're successful investors as well. So that is kind of the introduction and background. So really what we're looking to do is go forward building Kung Fu as a Titano fork, creating utility for the project and for the token by building an actual revenue generating business behind it, and then expanding that into different areas and seeing where we go. Where there's a lot of different areas we can move into, and some things that may be trendy and fall out of trend and lose value, but something like Fork It, where we'll get into this in a little bit, but something like Fork It where we can adapt as the market adapts in pretty much real time, should be able to sustain for the long term. So with that said, let's call that the introduction and background section of the agenda for today, and let's dive into the token and the tokenomics. So Kung Fu was a stealth launch. There was no whitelist, and there is, as of this point, no team allocation. So if you know of a lot of protocols that keep back 10%, 15% of the tokens, whatever it is, we have not done that. So the only tokens that anybody involved holds are tokens that we've bought, and there is no other way around that. Now, while we did not do a whitelist for Phantom, we will likely do this for Avalanche. I mean, it's pretty much set in stone that we will. The only reason we would not would be if we were to take the token true multi-chain, where it's sort of shared liquidity and the token is managed and priced synergistically across two blockchains. I'm kind of against that. I think it would be nice to have these be able to free float and also use that whitelist as a as sort of a gift for our original Phantom believers, because I know it is, rug season, so to speak. So for those that have put this extra trust in us, that's a reward for them. But what we would likely do for Avalanche is make it a whitelist scenario and probably tax the hell out of it so that people are decentivized to sell. I don't want whitelist people to be dumping tokens immediately upon launch on people who are buying in. So I want to avoid that. And taking the kind of sphere approach to that, I think, would help a lot. So there will be a whitelist of some sort for AVAX. The only thing would be, unless we were to go the route of the shared liquidity pool and true multi-chain. We will then measure the results of that and see if we were to expand to Polygon or BNB chain, what does that look like for a whitelist? Would we do it? Would we not do it? So we want to make sure that it's as fair as possible. So maybe we would, maybe we wouldn't. I can't say at this point. Going through the history, we've already talked about that, so I really don't need to go back into that. The next point on the agenda would be the Trailblazers and partners. So there are three here that I want to talk about. One is Titano. I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. So Titano obviously is the creator of this. As far as I know, there's no other thing before that. It's not really a reflection. It's more of a new ecosystem that they created. So thank you for them. If they didn't do this, we would not exist. Our code is very, very similar to what they have with just a few little modifications. So thank you to them. Also for Bogged Finance. I think for anyone who doesn't know Bogged Finance, this protocol is absolutely amazing. It's a lot of things, but what we're using the most is the DEX aggregator side of this. So if you were to go to SpookySwap and try to buy this token, you would need to manually adjust slippage to buy it and also to sell it. And you may know that because you're a degen in the DeFi world and you understand how all this works. But the modern mass of people who just hear crypto here and there and then start to dive into this, they have no idea what slippage is, what taxes are. They know nothing of this. So Bogged Finance being able to just give you one big button that says swap and it's done, that's a huge value for us. So thank you to them. Also for Forkit, Bogged Finance comes into play very, very important here. So for Forkit, Bogged Finance is integrated in every single detail page. So if you were to compare what we're doing, you'll see some differences, but I'll get into that later. We'll talk about Forkit here in a bit. Also, lastly would be Gelato. So smart contracts are very smart. We know that. Obviously, they can run very complex functions. But one thing they cannot do is tell time. They cannot look at the clock and say, it's been 30 minutes, I need to pay people. And that is where Gelato comes in handy. So we're using Gelato to automate the rebase function. And they've also done a great job in helping market us and promote what we're doing. So it's a great synergistic partnership there. But essentially, every 30 minutes, Gelato will say, hey, Kung Fu Finance contract, run this function, which is automate rebase, which pays you every 30 minutes. So you should also say thank you to Gelato for that. But I've also, in fact, I can pull up some real-time metrics while we're on the chat and show you or tell you how it runs. So it's really, really efficient how this runs, and it's really, really cool. So this function has ran 756 rebase events at a total cost of $61 since we launched this token. And looking through the logs, it has not missed a single rebase since we launched on March 29th. So it is very, very rock solid, and thank you to Gelato. So From there, I would like to take just a second to grab a drink, and then we'll move on to the tokenomics section.
Right. So here we are, guys. We're getting a lot of great infos, and yeah, really, RG is really working hard. Um, yeah, I think we are at the very beginning, but as you see, there's a lot of potential here, and I just want to let like everyone to know that we kind of coming for a harsh background. We've been, at least me, rocked a couple of good times, and the feeling is not nice. It's hard work money. So we would not, and I repeat, we would not do this to anyone. RG,
No.
as we discussed, go ahead, RG.
Yeah. So what I can't guarantee you is success. Of course, we're doing things, and this is DeFi, and you never know what's going to happen. But I do guarantee you that we will not run off with your money. The same as what I said with Time Wizards, and as you see with the results of me giving back refunds to everyone that wants them. Rug will not happen. Failure, you never know. I can't promise you we're going to go, 5,000x and everyone's going to roll around in Lamborghinis all day. But I can promise you that we will not run off with your money. That is for sure.
But I think
Yeah.
it's just very how can I say, it's a huge value to remain a little bit with your foot on the ground as well. Dreaming it's for free, so fair enough. That's hoping and all that stuff. But as RG said, we can't really promise you the sky and everything, and then you're gonna get disappointed because we can't control the market. And again, we not hold a crystal ball of predicting things, but all what we can offer you right now, guys, is our trust and our hard work and transparency, which is really really huge thing, and honesty. Um, I mean, I talked to RG. That's why I said to you all in the other TG that I will only join RG if we set some things up front, because I got you over from Uranus, most of you in another group, and I really don't want you to get rocked again, and so do RG doesn't. So basically, I think you are very safe in this project, and just be patient. Patient is virtue. I always used to say that in the chat. We thank you all for joining us and for shilling, even for the future. I already thank you for the future. When marketing is gonna kick in, we will need you guys. We really need you. We can't do it with just me and him and Alex. It's not just not gonna be working. We need to kind of like pay attention on tweets and all that stuff. So that's the little like shortcut I gave RG a little bit of time to have some water. So I wanted to
Yeah.
say
Thank
that
you.
I'm here for all of you at any time. Hit me up, text me, I don't know, separately DM me. If you have any interesting questions or whatever, I do my best. And if I can't answer you, I'll consult RG and we'll come back to you with an answer. 100%. We're not here to run away. Exactly. I'm just reinforcing these words, right? We we really want to build something. We really want to do something nice. So thank you for being part of it, and I'll give over the word to RJ again.
Cool. Thank you. And also a huge thank you to Soto and Alex too, because they have put in probably just as many hours as I have in the past week with building out the Telegram, getting all the bots programmed. I have done none of that. That has been them while I've been building Forkit. So very, very much deserved thank you to both of them. All right. So moving on, let's get into the tokenomics here. The first point, and I think it's very important to note this, and I can point to some examples here, is the APY rate is on, and why I think that's a terrible thing. So the APY of Titano was 102,483, if my mind serves me correct. And I have seen now one Titano fork with a APY over 1 million%. Look how that went with Ohm forks. So the first guys in make ridiculous amounts of money, and everyone behind them becomes exit liquidity. There's nothing planned for development for most of these projects. They are simply Ponzi schemes that want to get your money, and then they vanish. We chose a different route. So we actually went slightly under half of what the Titano APY is. We chose 50,000%. And we did this because we think it's more sustainable. And to be honest, if 50,000% doesn't give you a nice positive ROI, then we're doing something quite wrong in the long term. So it should be sustainable. Everyone should be happy with that amount of growth, and it should be something that we can deliver on as we get into the further roadmap and how we're going to start generating revenue on top of just buy and sell taxes. So with that said, let's move to the next point. So obviously, most people know how these protocols work. There is a tax for the buy, there's a tax for the sell, and this creates some additional revenue for the protocol, and that revenue falls into a couple different wallets. So some of that is going to fall into the treasury, and the uses for the treasury, right now, it is not really paying the team. In the future, it could, but my hope is that Forkit will actually fund the team itself, and the treasury can be used for things like advertising or additional development that we need if we need to bring in outside people. But Forkit, I really hope, will sustain our entire team to where the treasury actually lives whole, which would be an astounding thing compared to how other protocols are working. Along with that as well, as we've seen, the nightmare of Uranus is that the treasury wallet, while currently it is not, in the very near future, like less than 30 days, it will move to a multi-sig, and actually Soto is going to join the multi-sig as well along with that. And in the future, maybe we bring on even one more signer. That should be okay. But I would like that to be either an influencer or someone from the community that has zero ties to the project. So the RFV would be used for buybacks in extreme events. It lives in USDC, so it should be relatively stable. And that is also a multi-sig wallet as well. Keep in mind that also right now the liquidity of the project is very, very low. So a price dip at this point is not really considered a extreme event. You just need to hold, because as the liquidity is so low, little buys and sells, a few $100 here and there will swing the price quite a bit. So I would focus on token accumulation during this phase, or even buying when those dips happen. So you can kind of dollar cost average, but obviously make up your own choices there. But let's say we get down the road and we have 500,000 or $1 million in liquidity, and something happens, the market crashes, whatever. That's where that RFV can come into play there, or if something were to be exploited inside of the contract. But since the contract is from Titano, that should not really happen. But that's what it's there for. The liquidity lock will also happen using Cryptex Locker. It is not currently locked, and the reason for that is there's really no reason to lock it when the liquidity itself is in the not even $20,000 range. So the number that I have in my mind is $50,000. I think when the treasury, not the treasury, I'm sorry, when the liquidity passes $50,000, then it's a good time to pay for the lock. The lock is not free as well. So I think that's a good time to secure it at that point. And the last thing for tokenomics is the burn schedule. So we burn every single Friday. There is no set time of day that we do this, but it does happen on Fridays. And tomorrow I will be quite aggressive with that. So yeah, I want to be as aggressive as I can with the burn schedule and try to make this ship fly. The last point regarding the token itself, as we talked, is that most forks will die. This is a reality. This is the same as with own forks. If they're not building any kind of utility, they are simply just a copy paste, and they will probably not sustain. So in order to not be a copy paste Ponzi, we need a roadmap, and we need to build things, and we need to do stuff. First thing, I would like to start with two very important points. A roadmap is not a fixed thing. It is a fluid, moving target that can be adjusted. So as an example, Forkit has moved way up. We're ready to launch Forkit tomorrow. So NFTs, will come probably in May. But I just want people to know the roadmap is open to adjustment. It is not this is exactly what we're doing to the day kind of thing. And the other thing is value over complexity. So if you look at what we've done and the partners that we've started to build relationships with, like Gelato and Boggs Finance, we want to get value. I do not care if I can custom code something if there is a library that does it, as an example. So I would rather get in, get out, and deliver value to the protocol and to the holders rather than look for the most complex or self-coded solution so I can pat myself on the back and say that I coded for 12 hours today. So that for me, yeah, is a huge point to mention, because doing things like Gelato might limit us a little bit in being able to go to a different chain or something like that. But in the long run, it's something where we don't have to bring on devs to do things. We don't have to have these extra security risks of custom written contracts. We can just go, hey, Gelato, here's what we want to do. Boom, it's done, and we're off to the next thing. And we know that it functions. So on the roadmap, NFTs. We will start looking at NFTs after we do the Avalanche launch. So already, since I've written the agenda here, these need to flip around a little bit. But NFTs will come in May, and we will follow a similar mindset to what we had with Chime Wizards, where we will, the revenue from NFTs will not just go in our pockets. This will go into yield farming opportunities that will fund airdrops for NFT holders. And also revenue from Forkit. I don't know what the portion of that will be, because the goal of Forkit at first is to fund the team, so we don't do it from the treasury. But if there is additional revenue from Forkit, that will go into Burns, and I'll get into that here in just a bit. But yeah, that is what we're looking for NFT. So we'll have some kind of airdrop to gamify it up. It will be augmented from profits from different areas of the protocol, and as we adjust, and likely we would probably use NFTs for governance in the future if we want to have any kind of snapshot votes or things like that. Next on the list would be going multi-chain, and why we want to do this and where we're going to go. So why we want to do this is to have a presence in other blockchains. Also, as we are building Forkit, we want to have a presence where our customers are as well. So I think there's a value in doing that. And also it opens us up to different protocols and more investors than what we have here just on Phantom. So the tokenomics are not exactly set yet for Avalanche. And to be honest, we could even experiment with this a bit and maybe add an additional tax that goes into directly buying and burning on Phantom, something like that. So none of this is set in stone yet until we're closer to launch time. Then we'll start to hash out the details and start to build the contract from there. But yeah, the goal of that is to be where more investors are, to generate more revenue for the protocol, and to make it sustain better. What we would not do is jack up the APY on one protocol or do something that inherently harms another aspect of it. And that could also be the same with NFTs. We may have NFTs on both chains. I'm not sold on that yet, but I'm not entirely against it either. So as long as we can centralize the revenue and make sure that it's being used for the right things, I think there's no downside to doing that. The next thing on the roadmap, which is actually going to go live probably about midday Europe time tomorrow, so call it about 16 hours-ish, something like that, is Forkit. And Forkit is an entire ecosystem that we're building. So there are sites popping up that have similar ambitions, like What the Fork and titanoforks.com. And we want to take this a little bit further. So let's go right into the details of it. So first off, forks are not going anywhere. Every time somebody comes up with an innovation, there are carbon copies of it that pop up within a day or two. And then there are also useful, innovative, inspired by versions that also come up, like Sphere as an example, being very closely inspired by Titano, but it's not exactly the same. So for us, this becomes a sustainable initiative. Forks are not going anywhere. So if we build a presence in this ecosystem, and in DeFi, we become known as the default site for people to learn about new forks and to be able to know that the information they're getting can be trusted. That's a huge value add, and people are paying quite a bit of money, the projects, for advertising on these sites. So we have a revenue model that we've built out, and it will also benefit KNGFUU. So like I said, first off, the revenue from Forkit would be used to pay the team, which would leave the treasury whole. But if there are additional profits from the marketing and from Forkit, then we would use these additional profits we would probably split them 50-50, 50% of that being to buy back and burn. Not, there's a difference here too. Not burning Kung Fu from the treasury that's already sitting there, which is beneficial, but to actually use dollars to buy it on the market and then burn it. So that actually drives the price up directly. So to use that methodology, and half of that revenue probably put into the yield farming that will allow us to have larger airdrops or more airdrops for our NFT holders. The other thing is, as we are building this site and traffic starts to grow, this is also going to be a website. There's also going to be Discord and also on Twitter, that this brings more people into our ecosystem. So this lets people know about Kung Fu, and I can promise you that Kung Fu is going to be prominently featured all over the site. So as people are coming to learn about new forks, they will also be exposed to Kung Fu as well. So this should bring us additional investors as well. Now, the website itself will have a few different ways in order to generate revenue. So there is a price list on the website, which will go live tomorrow, if you want to have a look at that time and see what we're charging. And we will also implement things like probably some banner advertising as well. But a couple key features that we have that differentiate us from things like What the Fork or Titano Forks is that we have used bogged finance on every single detail page. So I think I need to go one step backwards. If you look at What the Fork as an example, you will see essentially what's called a content card of a title of a fork and then a short description and then buttons to click if you want to go to their website or Discord or whatever. We've went a step further. So we have those where you can kind of filter them and say, I want to look at Titano Forks or I want to look on Avalanche, whatever you want. But when you find one and you click on it and you go in, you're actually going to open up a detail page. And that detail page has more information about that protocol. So there is some imagery, there are the social links, there's a description, there is the APY information. There's also a safety score added where we use some different factors to determine that score. And then below that, there is a bogged finance integration on every single detail page. And there is also a deck screener embed on every single detail page. So you have the option, without leaving Forkit, to look at the chart. You have the full way of manipulation on deck screener as you do if you were literally on the website. And from Bogged Finance, if you decide you want to buy one, you can buy that token right on Forkit without even leaving. So I think that's a huge value add for users. There's no confusion about where they're getting contract information from, or is this right or is this wrong. We're doing that work on our side and making sure that what they get is actually correct. So I think there's a lot of value there. And then for us also, the Discord for Forkit is actually a section inside of the Kung Fu Discord. So this will bring a lot of people into that Discord as well. And the Twitter is actually the Time Wizards Twitter is being rebranded into this. So there will be a little bit of a history and a starting point there, which is good for protocols that want to see some followers and get some reach. We can offer them that right out of the gate. At that point, I'm going to see if maybe Soto wants to talk for a minute. I want to grab another drink real quick.
Sure, sure. Well, I think we heard a lot of great news. Actually, I've been lucky to be one of the first ones seeing how fork it works. Um, to be honest, I can't wait tomorrow, so I can basically play around with it and see what actually goes on. And actually, now that I hear RG talking about it, I'm thinking of some few ideas that we can add to it and make it even more attractive, even more um, sustainable. So what you want when you have a project like this emerging the market is keeping the people in it, keeping the people on that page. The more you keep the person there, the more you do, the more they will remember about it, the more visually they will know wherever they're gonna see a banner or advertisement about Forkit or Kung Fu, they will remember, oh crap, this is Forkit, I used to buy from there, whatever coins. So as RG just mentioned, forks are here and they will stay. They will stay because Titano is a quite big success, and Libero and a couple of other folks. I don't want to kind of start mentioning there, but yes, they made a lot of people, especially Titano, made a lot of people wealthy, and they built a huge army behind it. I can't even tell. They are probably around 80K holders. So it's amazing. So Titano is an example, and it's the first example of all forks. So they will stay, 100%. Now, getting back to the roadmap, probably RG is probably on it, and he mentioned, like, I want to add a little bit to that key point. He said that we following the roadmap, but there will be probably like slight delays or jump backs. So you have to understand, a project of this size, it's not little. It's not huge either. It's just a medium-sized project. But you can't do everything just along. Basically, just for a little bit of insight of it, the project methodology, it can be different methodologies applied to a project. So basically, RG is kind of using probably the spiral methodology for his project, because he's going along with it, and then when you implement things, you have to go back a little bit, fix some other things, and then come back where you left, and so on and so forth. So these things takes time. Trust me, these things takes time. You have to be patient, and as he just mentioned, I think it's just normal, and um, we can't do much more now than just be patient and then try to accumulate from rebase, and try to chill around. Again, I put a lot of pressure over Rogue Nation's TG channels. Guys, we need to hit these ones. You know, we need to show people that we are live and we are here, and we are trying to do something to benefit them, to kind of recover their losses. Because at the end of the day, that's what I've done when I created the TG channel. I tried, and I was more than happy to share all my coins I hold and all that stuff, and try to get you guys in a very, very stable projects. Really, really good team and strong team behind it. Same like Kung Fu. Um, this is our target. Our target is to go clean, transparent, and I assure you, as you heard Archie, this was basically part of our deal. That was our last basically nail that we had to get agree on. I really wanted to be added to the multisig, because then, you know I mean, obviously, I don't know how many people is going to be on a multi-sig, but I'll be there if anything happens, which I don't really think is going to happen. I think RG is just epic, and he's working hard to do all these things. He's not going to do any of this kind. So that's why I'm just trying to reassure people that I know my own feeling, how I feel about things, but yeah, we looking at a bright future, 100%. And as I said, I've got, just by him speaking and then listening to him, I got some ideas for Forkit, which could be actually beneficial. Before I give over um, the control to RJ again, guys, keep putting the questions in a chat so you don't forget them. This is going to be a little bit a long AMA, so it's going to take a little time. So don't forget them. Put them there, and don't forget you're going to be rewarded. Yeah. Right. So no further talking for me. RG, take over.
Cool. Thank you. All right. So outside of Forkit, as some of you from Uranus have seen, personally, I'm I don't want to float my own boat, but I understand how marketing works, and I know how to position brands and to grow brands. So this is something that I want to offer as a service to Kung Fu, and to actually build Kung Fu into a DeFi and crypto marketing company. And this is definitely a long-term goal. This is not something that's going to magically just happen inside of a couple weeks. But as I came into the Uranus project and started to level up what the marketing efforts were and the reporting, and just overall start to make the brand come across more professional, I was bombarded with other projects that were asking me to join them in some form or fashion to contribute or lead to their marketing. And I think there's no reason why Kung Fu couldn't follow a similar suit, and that we are able to offer this as a service, and the revenue that is generated um, is able to also contribute to buyback and burns. So there are a few things we can do right out of the gate, and some things that will be a little more complicated and need some additional resources to do. But things we can do right out of the gates, we can do code comparisons. So I can explain each one of these as we go through here as well. Code comparison would be like, we are a new Tune fork, or we are a new Titano fork. And yes, we're going to get an audit, but we don't have an audit yet, and we want to launch in 3 days or 5 days, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. A code comparison service is something where they are able to pay us to do this service. It's a paid thing. And we will take their finalized contract and we will compare it against the original. And we will prepare a PDF that is 3 to 5 pages that will show the differences between their contract and the original. So you could see things like, is there the ability for someone to mint tokens, or are there things in here that look sketchy, or is everything spot on and the contract itself is fine? So if there was a potential, reason to go awry, it would be something like a malicious dev versus the code itself being compromised. So it's not meant to replace an audit. It's meant to fill the gap between someone wanting or having the funds in order to pay for an audit, because the Ceratec audit is crazy expensive, versus giving a potential investor something they can read and understand if they don't understand Solidity, where they can make a decision of, yes, I want to invest in this, or no, I don't. So it's not meant to be any kind of advice. It's not meant to replace an audit. It's meant to simply compare, here is fork A against source A, and here are the similarities and differences between. The second service is pretty straightforward. That is providing a KYC service. So the idea is that if someone comes to Kung Fu, we can handle all of their needs, and KYC goes right along with that. So this would consist of gathering their documents, doing video calls, ensuring that the people that we're talking to are actually the people who have control of any kind of wallet attached to a project as well. So of course, this is not 100% guaranteed, but this is something we can do as an additional fail-safe for projects. It's another stamp of approval they can get in a relatively quick time. And for investors, it's something else that we can provide that is an extra seal of approval, so to speak, or something that we can do as a confidence booster for potential investors, knowing that we have the identities of those who are behind the project. The third thing would be that we could host AMAs. So our Discord is already at 700. Our Twitter is growing, our Telegram is growing. And as we continue to grow, I think that offering AMAs to new projects is something that brings value to them, brings value to our community, and will also bring people who are interested in those projects into our community, as we would push to host these on our own platform. So it really just grows our entire ecosystem. It all works together. Last would be the YouTube and multi-sig. So YouTube would be that we could actually do full reviews, inclusive of maybe even having a quick look at the contract involved as well. Or if we do a code comparison, maybe walking through that as a part of that. And then also ensuring that we just explain people protocols. So it's another social media outlet that we have. And then multi-sig would be that someone from Kung Fu could be a multi-signer. So if it's a new project that's wanting to launch and they want to foster that confidence in their community, that we could come onto their project as a multi-signer and help ensure that no funny business happens on the back end. Moving along with digital marketing. So this goes into different areas, but we can offer things like token listings. So if you're not an experienced developer, or if you are an experienced developer but not used to blockchain or new to it, You might not even know where all you can list your token. You might not know how. There are lots of different methods to do this, and there are lots of different requirements that change depending on whether you're using DappRadar or CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko, whatever. And also, if you do something like DeFi Llama, you also have some SDK integration that you have to do on your actual protocol. So doing that from our side is a benefit that I believe projects would be willing to pay for. Another aspect would be banner ads. So also looking at Uranus, Uranus was able to get something like 4 million impressions a day off of a actually quite small budget for digital marketing. And that also contributed greatly to the growth that we had along with that. So creating the ads, running the ads, targeting the markets, those are things that we can do. Secondly, or lastly, I should say, would be Twitter management, Discord management, and now that we have Soto on board, I would say we could even expand that into Telegram management. Him and Alex are wizards at this, literally. So Telegram is not my forte. I can't hardly even send a GIF on Telegram, but they are the guys behind this, and I think that this is a service that we can provide as well. Now, these additional services, not the code comparison, AMA, KYC, and YouTube videos or listings, but the additional services like banner ads, Twitter management, Discord management, these are all monthly things. And that revenue, as I've mentioned several times, I hope will be sufficient enough to fund the team so the treasury remains whole, and the rest is either burnt or sent to RFV or sent to NFT holders, but we make use of that additional revenue. So that is what I've got in mind there. The last point on the agenda for today would be the team. So the current setup is myself. I am essentially doing all of the tech, and Soto is leading the Telegram, and Alex is more focused on the Discord, but to be honest, they're both kind of bouncing back and forth, and they're doing a great job between the two. What I see as far as the future of the team in the short term, and I would say short term looks like probably 60 days, 90 days, something like this, would be that we have a content editor who comes on staff. And this is someone who, for example, with Forkit, there are hundreds of forks out there. But as we start to grow and we start to get more requests, this would be a content editor who is making those actual changes to the website in order to add new forks, manage new forks, remove things that are rugged or things like that. And then also having at least one additional moderator. So Soto is in Europe, Alex is in Asia. I'm also in Europe, but I would like to have at least someone from the US so we kind of cover all hours of the day. And as we start to grow as well, I would definitely want to have a media designer on staff. So as we're doing banner ads, there's a lot of graphic work that needs to be done and back and forth, having that done. And then eventually bringing on a developer, as I would move into more of a managerial position and guiding the project versus being quite so hands-on in the contract itself and development of the website and front end and all that kind of stuff. So as far as the agenda for today, that is what I've got. So at this point, I am open to any and all questions.
Before we go ahead with the questions, we're gonna give the chance to some people to go get to go ahead with the questions here live. The ones are live. Please try to ask here until RG is gonna go over to TG, to our TG in Kung Fu, and have a look at some of the questions are there. I'm more than happy to read them, and he can answer them, or he can read them and answer them. Is up to him, honestly. But yeah, so go ahead, guys. Brainstorm. Don't forget. Best question in the house. We got marketing, technical, and the best future idea for this project you may have. They all three rewarded by the $25 each. Good question. So go ahead. Thank you.
Don't be shy.
Hello. Hey.
Hi.
Hi, Soto. Hi, Arji. I already put the questions, but let me also reiterate it over here. So, I think the first thing is, I got the idea from Sphere actually because they are using the quantum liquidity as a service, using the liquidity to also farm and generate, I don't know, like returns on that end. Would something like that, would you be open to doing something like that with the stake liquidity that we have?
Are you referring to the KNGFUU FTM liquidity pool, or are you referring to what
Correct.
we have in
Yeah.
the RFV?
Yeah, whatever the total liquidity is in the pool plus the RFV, everything. Like, would you be open to farm it even more? Like what Sphere is doing at something like that.
So
The
I would not
QLAA
be,
service.
yeah, I wouldn't be against farming the RFV or a portion of it, but what I would be afraid of is farming is always lending out your tokens, and the RFV is meant to be something that we can use in a buyback scenario or some scenario where something has gone massively wrong. And I wouldn't be against it, but my concern would be what happens if we, for example, have the RFV in a protocol and that protocol gets hacked and our RFV or a portion of our RFV vanishes. So I wouldn't do that without, even though this is not a DAO, I probably wouldn't do that without putting it into a vote first. I wouldn't be against it, but I would really think, is the return that we would get from that worth the risk involved? So I'm not sure how to answer that at this point.
No, makes sense. Because the only point I was thinking is the problem that happens is the inflation part of it, where the more tokens that are generated, the total value keeps going down. But I guess whatever you said before with all the utilities, I think I kind of get the answer from that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think between the burning and the reduced APY, I think we'll probably hedge most of the inflation. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be against farming to some extent, but yeah, like I said, I would probably even bring that to a vote, even though it's not a DAO, and just make sure people are comfortable with what we would want to do.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Next question.
Hi guys, Nandor is here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. I just have one technical question regarding to the Gelato network.
Mm-hmm.
So is Gelato kind of Oracle, like off-chain that interacts with your smart contract, or just makes your smart contract automated, like kind of feature to your smart contract?
So I'm not sure exactly how Gelato is doing it on the back end. I didn't read through the contract that I'm using, but I can tell you how I've implemented it. So how I've implemented it is there are two functions inside of our contract. One is called manual rebase and the other is called automated rebase. And they are the same function. The only difference between the two is that I created two different roles. One which is an admin, which is assigned to myself as the contract owner, and the other one is labeled as rebase, which is the Gelato contract. And it has the authority to only call the contract of automated rebase. And inside of Oracle, sorry, not inside of Oracle, inside of Gelato, I have set it up using their UI in order to call this function every 30 minutes. So that's how we're doing it. Their contract has access through a role management, and it is only allowed to call that one function.
Okay. Thanks for explanation.
Any additional questions?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hello.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, cool. All right, I was asking earlier, I mean, it's on down the road, what you're talking about with the NFTs. Have you looked into them as them being omni-chain, which is where you can actually buy them on Phantom and sell them on Ethereum or wherever you would like to sell them?
I have not looked into that at all. I'm not sure how that works, but I'm intrigued. Is there a protocol that's doing this, or is this something that's
Yeah, actually, Teens of Acid, the NFTs, they're actually doing it now, and I've
okay?
heard about other people doing it too. So I could actually get some information up for it and send it to you.
Sure, yeah, that would be very helpful. Like I said, I'm about value over complexity. So if we could generate one set of NFTs and let them move around as they desire, then I see no downside to that.
All right, well, that sounds good, man. That's all I pretty much had, and I appreciate listening to y'all.
Cool, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Any additional, or shall we go to Telegram?
Come on, gents, don't be shy. You must get these $25. Come on. It's all right. I'm gonna put all the questions now. I'm gonna take all the money. Here it is. So, if none of you wants to get the money, thank you very much. I'll take them all. Come on, don't be shy. This is your chance to ask whatever questions you have. I mean, any doubts? I don't know, assurance on the project. This like RG lined up on loads and loads of points here. So there are two projects in one. So you have to have questions. Come on.
Okay, I have another one.
Okay.
Do you have any plan to perform any kind of audits like Certic or Solidity audits on this project?
Not at the moment, but I wouldn't be against it. To be honest, the reason that I haven't done this at this point is that it's self-funded, no whitelist, no VC. So Certec, being above 20,000 is definitely out of reach. Solidity, maybe, but I've also heard, and I can't say yay or nay, and I don't want to make them sound bad, but I've also heard that Solidity audits aren't necessarily the greatest. I wouldn't rule it out though. I would just want to wait until we could fund it, or do some kind of arbitrage, not arbitrage. My mind, it's late here. Barter between a different protocol, in order to trade maybe some services for an audit or something like that.
Yeah. Great. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did see one that I missed. So yeah, so about the whole RFE buying like a buyback scenario where it's an extreme situation of price drop. How is the price drop defined? Like what constitutes a extreme situation where you go and buy back a portion using the RFP? Is
Yeah.
there like a
So
percentage you look at? Sorry, yeah.
there's not a defined percentage. I touched on this briefly, but I wouldn't really do it at all right now, given the liquidity is so low and the price swings heavily just from small purchases. But I would say as the liquidity grows, and I don't know what that number is going to be, but it's there for that, and it's not there for anything else, inclusive of yield farming. So I would say, while I can't say exactly what it would be, I would rather spend it and keep us happy because we perform these buybacks than watch all of our holders, suffer, and we have an RFV that's worth, $150,000, $200,000 sitting there. So I can't say what that threshold would exactly be. It's just going to be fluid, but I see no other purpose for it. That is literally the reason that is there. So I see no problem in spending it.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. So if no more, then I'm going to start going through the Telegram. The first one I see is from
Before you go,
1620s.
before you go, RG,
Sure.
I just worked out for you a little bit, so you go in a bit easier. So
Okay.
the questions with plus aren't answered, and the one written answered under them, they basically answered. Some people put the questions down written, but then also they went live and asked them. So just not to double up the work, I just try to kind of make it simple. So the ones with plus are the ones that needs to be answered. And if you guys feel that I've written somewhere answered and you didn't get your answer, just let me know. It's cool. I might have done mistakes, but I think we should like go on with that now.
Okay, I'm not seeing the pluses. I see them all at the very bottom. So I might have to just read through them all.
Just look at the second last one. You have a plus there. Just click on the top of the question, and you basically will you will get right.
Ah, so
You will
and you
go
said
after
the
the
plus
question.
I have not answered.
Oh yeah,
Yeah?
that's true. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So the question here being, most of us have been involved in projects at Rugged. What measures have you taken to ensure the same thing doesn't happen here? Also, all right, so let's start there. What measures have I taken to ensure this doesn't happen here? Number one is creating a project myself. So I am no longer a marketing guy who is creating marketing plans, but I don't have control of anything. This is a project I created myself from scratch, and I've started to build a team around it of people who have a similar mindset and value. So also for people who don't know, as obviously the crypto world is big and not everybody obviously knows each other. I'm a normal guy. I have a family. I don't want to run off with people's money. I get pissed when people run off with mine. It's happened multiple times. Uranus is one. Rise DAO is another. Fortress DAO is another. So I have personally been burned many times on this, and I don't want that for anyone. So the only way I can ensure that doesn't happen is to create my own project. The second question here. So also most of the people who are involved in Rug projects are looking forward to recover their losses incurred in those last projects. How do you plan to keep them involved so they don't dump the charts? Well, that's a good question. So really, that's what the taxes are there for in the reduced APY as well, where people are going to need to hold for a longer amount of time in order to have that gain, and augmenting that by creating revenue that is used to ensure that the price goes up. So I don't have anything coded in that says like you can only sell X amount of tokens per day or something like that. None of that is in there. It's more of just a straight Titano fork. But if you want to sell it, you're going to pay that tax. So hopefully that is a discouragement. Between the two taxes that are there as well, the token needs to move substantially for you not to lose money on that trade, or you need to wait it out until your APY has rewarded you enough. So that's kind of what the plan is there. All right, there's a plus.
Next one is for Toga.
Toga here. What motivated me to start this project? So yeah, as mentioned, so I had a project previously that failed that I actually did develop. That is the Time Wizards NFTs. That did not fail on my part or the part of any of the holders. Actually, the community was really, really great and still is really, really great. But we made a mistake of, number one, using the word time in our name, and number two, focusing, because we really truly believed, and I still do believe in the project of Wonderland, but I can't motivate an entire community to buy 10,000 NFTs. So that is what motivated me to move forward, along with the experience that I had in Uranus, where no matter what I tried to do, and ultimately not having the keys to the castle proved fatal in that regard. So that was something where I've really liked the Titano model. I've actually invested personally in Titano back in November, and yeah, I mean, I just wanted to do my own thing and continue to grow both, personally and as my development skills grow. So that's what motivated me to start it. Yeah. All right, next one from
You got Ajoy.
all right, can you list the killer features of your project and make it ahead of the competitors. So, yeah, this is a simple yet complex question. So, the simple answer of this is that the protocol of Kung Fu itself has 0 features that put it ahead of the competitors. We are a fork of Titano, and the buck pretty much stops there. What we have that other projects don't is number one is going to be fork it. So we're building an ecosystem that can generate revenue, and equally as important than the actual revenue that we get is that this will bring new people into the Kung Fu ecosystem. So as they may come to research Sphere, or as they may come to research something like a new tomb fork that's coming out, or whatever the flavor of the month is next month, they will be coming to Fork It in order to get their information. And there we will also expose them to Kung Fu Finance. So that is one really good, strong ace up our sleeve that we have. And the second part of that is that I can't speak for all projects, but for this one in particular, I, as a marketer in my career, have about $1.5 billion in sales under my belt, and I know how to market stuff. So I'm not sure that that's necessarily a feature, but what goes on in my head makes businesses a lot of money. And I'm going to apply those tactics here the same as I did for Uranus as well. So yeah, that is that one. Let's see here. Next
got
one.
user 1620. This is the next question.
Few questions here. All right. So will the AVAX Kung Fu side complement FTM Kung Fu in any way, or will they be kept completely separate? This, I'm not exactly sure. The only way right now, so if this really comes down to the answer of, do we go true multi-chain or do we split the two protocols apart? If we split them, what I have in mind is to maybe do an additional tax on the AVAX that is used in USDC or MIM, whatever that is, that will be bridged back to Phantom in order to directly buy back and burn. But I don't know 100% on that yet. But I think that might be a sustainable way to do it. And to be honest, when we launch on AVAX, nothing says that that has to be a carbon copy of the contract from Phantom. So maybe we do take a more Sphere-like approach to AVAX. I'm not really sure yet. That's a good question, though. All right. I think that's all of them, yes?
Presume yes. Yeah, I'm not too sure if Ajoy has had the answer got to the question. I'm just gonna plus yes right now. Okay, so you got the plus. So Ajoy, can you? Oh, sorry, Ayan, can you let me know if you've been answered to the questions I just plussed it now, the last one in the chat?
Yeah, kind of. I think I got the answer because I like combined all the questions and asked. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Guys, come on, don't be shy. We're here for you, and I don't know. I think we've been super transparent. I think RG literally really been with the cards on the table, and I really appreciate and thank you again, RG, for your time and work. So the community for the
No problem.
involvement, guys. We'll stay couple more question, like couple more seconds, minutes to see whatever someone else have any other questions. Um, and if not, I think we're gonna call it off here. If RG, it's okay. Oh, all right with that.
Sure. I would like that we set these up and we start to make them a recurring theme as well. So yeah, feel free to ask any other questions you have or bring them to the next AMA. But it also feels good to do these speaking to the whole project and not being just forced into only marketing questions because I had no dev authority previously. So yeah, happy to answer anything. We can make these recurring. We can also do them in different places, Twitter Spaces or Discord as well. So we kind of cover everybody, regardless of where they live. And yeah, from my side, thanks everybody for being here.
Right, so we're gonna have a couple more minutes, and if guys last chance to put the questions up and get $25, we will announce the winners, the mighty winners of these questions. Like probably tomorrow. Yeah, let's give it a little bit of time and go over them, see again, and we'll let you guys know. Right, so keep your eyes peeled on the announcement channel, and come on, you got the last chance to make $25. Come on.
Cool. Let's call it here then.
Right. Okay.
So
Go ahead, Archie.
yeah, just from my side, first off, thank you to Soto for putting in yet another late evening and taking the time to do this and to host it and to moderate it and get all the questions organized as well. Thank you very much, and thanks to everyone for being here. And I look forward to doing another one of these in the future.
Yeah, sure. Thank you as well, Archie, for your clearance and clearing the air. And well, we're gonna keep doing AMAs, and as we grow, we're gonna have more and more people in. And I'm 100% looking at this project as my top pick in my wallet and my top favorite one. Let's say that way. So yeah, 100%. We're gonna get far. We have to be patient and trust. That's what we're building on. Yeah, from my side, thank you very much for everyone being here and brainstorming the questions. We will let you know tomorrow the 3 winners. Okay, stay tuned and take care of yourselves. Good night to you all.
Good night. Thanks, everybody.
Bye bye.